folks, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's the 9th of December 2014, and this is the first in a set of videos I'm doing about having particular planets on the angles in your horoscope. And I'm going to start off with Chiron. By the angles, I mean the Ascendant, IC, Midheaven, Descendant. With Chiron rising, if Chiron was rising on the Ascendant at the moment of your birth, then you're going to find that in the first 20 years of life or so, there's often a lot of negative reinforcement, whether it be due to absent male or female role model, or being bullied at school, or being inconfident about oneself. It's common with Chiron on the Ascendant to feel that in youth that there's a sense of inferiority, unworthiness, not good enough, often related to the physical relationship that one has with oneself. So if you're born with Chiron on the Ascendant, it's important by the time you're into your mid-20s to come to some type of agreement with yourself about the nature of your physicality, the relationship you have with your body, and the ways in which you're comfortable about projecting yourself into the world at the day-by-day level. If this negative reinforcement and dislike of oneself were to continue as one gets older, then Chiron on the Ascendant is a real inhibitor in being out there in the world, and often produce people in older age who are reclusive, shy and withdrawn. Chiron on the Descendant is in many ways the opposite. When young, these people often reach out into the outside world for a lot of different types of contact, only to be disappointed when young by what they see as either the lack of substance, the lack of depth, or the lack of quality in that contact. And they often find that as when young, that they tend to want to retreat more and more into themselves, simply because they can't find anyone else around them who's able to keep up with them. Chiron on the Descendant when older does tend to sabotage oneself in relationship patterns, because again, no one else is ever going to be good enough. The key here is that other people aren't being asked to be being perfect. They're being asked to do their best, same as the individual. Never going to be good enough, but always getting better, and that's the nature of Chiron. With Chiron on the Midheaven, often there is an absent male role model, or the male role model imagery when young is either very weak and wounded, or else very, very dictatorial and authoritarian. Chiron on the Midheaven does give a fear of projecting oneself into and onto the outside world as being a competent and capable human being. And when young, it's very difficult to be assertive and projective in dealing with the outside world. As one ages, by which I mean past the Saturn return, so there is a degree of acceptance and comfort around these energies, but even so, people with Chiron on the Midheaven are never going to go out there and set the world alight. Instead, they're going to act as catalysts and trigger points for other people to get out there and do the similar work. And with Chiron on the IC, it's similar but opposite, in that Chiron on the IC often, but not always, points to an absent female role model, or a lack of female role model imagery in one's horoscope. Often difficult or absent relationships with the mother, or the aunt, or the grandmother, or the older sister. And it does create a sense of woundedness or inadequacy and insecurity about having one's own roots and foundations and home. Often the childhood experiences are quite traumatic or very varied, where you find the individual finds that they're being moved all over the place constantly during youth. It's only as they get older that these individuals will generally take themselves away from family and secure their own home outside of the family, so that they have their own sense of inner security through having their own home. Then they can go back to the family as an equal and say, right, I'm sorted, what about you lot? Similarly, projecting this into the outside world, it gives the desire for the person to have their own private space to give them security. Because if they have their own security with Chiron on the IC, everything else will get sorted. And if they don't have their own security, everything else will get wobbly. Chiron is where you can shoot yourself in the foot or be shot in the foot by external circumstances. It's where you can sabotage yourself, but it's also where you accept yourself as never being good enough, but always getting better. As with everything in Chiron, 98% is good enough. Or if you or they had 100%, you'd have wings on your back. There you go, that's Chiron on the angles. Catch you later. Bye.